Hi, welcome to episode 4 of Dreams Revealed. And today I am with my friend Stacy. She has had an amazing dream, and I love dreams that have all kinds of twists and turns and all of that. One of the things that I try and let people know is that the reason dreams seem so bizarre and so weird is because the part of the brain that makes sense of this material is sleeping while you're dreaming. So it's all of your dream is all about visual, is all about emotional, and it's all about memory. So those are the parts of the brains that are awake, the brain that's awake. So Stacy, I'd love to hear all about your dream. If you don't
All
mind
right.
sharing.
Thank you for having me again. I'm very excited to hear your analysis of this crazy dream because honestly, I have no idea what it means. So, but I will get into it. It is a bit long, but if you need me to stop at any point, just let me know.
Okay.
All right. So, in the beginning of this dream, my friend and I had planned to get sushi at a very fancy restaurant. I arrived a little bit before her and I got a great parking spot, but weirdly, I only had my purse and no car. So I remember getting to the restaurant, seeing a parking spot right in the front, but like I didn't have a car to park there. So I remember putting my purse there instead to like hold the spot. But eventually she arrives with her mom and we sit to eat. I ordered angel hair spaghetti with sauce for my first round of food, and she ordered mashed potatoes and we eat, which again was interesting because we're at a sushi restaurant, and I don't eat spaghetti and I actually am allergic to it. So it was very weird for me to order that. But anyways, after we look at real menus and we order some more food. I asked the woman working what the best gluten-free options were, in which she replied, "It's all gluten-free," and kind of like was being a bit sarcastic toward me, while others around kind of laughed at my question. I wanted to inform her that not all the food on the menu was gluten-free, but I didn't. My friend and her mom ordered some dishes as we ate, and we talked about my friend's love life. She told me that the two guys that she had been talking to have actually found out about each other because they live in the same town. Jay, we'll just call him Jay, was one of the guys that she is talking to, was very upset and wanted to stop talking to her and kind of just disconnect. While A, the other guy, was more okay with it since he was only 19 and kind of young and didn't really care. My friend said that she was only talking to Jay because she was worried about how young Jay was, being 19. Eventually, our food comes out, but we barely eat it as my friend sat very sad and upset. The food consisted of mainly cut up cucumber and some oil on it, which
Well,
I've
that's
never,
gluten free.
yeah, it's gluten free, but I've never had it before. Other people were in the restaurant that I was familiar with, but I can't really remember who they were. My friend's brother showed up, and he was almost like a stranger to me, but as he came in, I stood up and we started kissing in front of everyone to show like our true physical attraction for each other. He looked different in the dream, but I knew who he was. Like I knew that it was my friend's brother. Afterwards, another waitress comes and tells me, "If you have any little allergies, you can't eat this." In which I replied, "Well, my allergies aren't little, but okay," in a rude tone. I immediately apologized to her and told her I was just being sarcastic, even though I wasn't. Eventually, we leave, and my friend and her mom find their way to their car, and I walked with them. I realized I had parked or left my purse in the very first parking spot. So I said goodbye and I turned around to go to my spot. As I walked down the sidewalk, which is similar to like Brightback if you're familiar with Oswego, I hear somebody running from behind me. And I remember in the dream thinking it was like an intruder or like somebody I should be afraid of. So startled, I turned around and I saw Jennifer Lopez running down the path. She was beautiful. I remember the sun like hitting her face. She looked so like golden and bronzed. And I saw her and I was very confused but very relieved that it wasn't somebody else. A stranger getting out of their car sees her, and I asked them if I was just as pretty, if not prettier, than J-Lo. They actually told me yes, which I was very shocked and happy about. As I walked down the path, a gorgeously handsome man approached me, and again, never seen him before, but we instantly had a connection. As we both walked down to the parking spot, we see the world's most beautiful, like sunset with water and sunshine and clouds, and it almost was like a tropical waterfall. As we start to take photos of it, we approach my parking spot. I turn and see a black car pull into the parking lot, rear-ending a pastel mint BMW, which was parked in front of it, and a white Mercedes, which was parked next to it. I saw it all happen as the driver got out and just walked inside like nothing had happened. People gathered, and an old woman told me that I had to stay because I was a witness. I didn't want to stay, and at that point, I had just woken up. So, kind of an interesting and weird dream, to say the least.
And this was a morning dream.
Yes. Mhm.
And so and I probably say a lot of this every session, but it's okay because I don't know who's watching what. So morning dreams are the easiest to remember. They tend to be our longest dreams because REM cycles get a little longer and longer over duration. And that is probably most of the dreams that are going to find their way here are going to be morning dreams, which is really kind of cool. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through. I have your dream on my phone here, and I'm just going to go through the little things that I think were are going to be important.
Okay.
Um, Now, before I do, I would like to ask you anything going on in your life that may have triggered such a crazy, bizarre dream.
Yeah, so prior to this dream, I had been going through a separation after being with my significant other for 4 years, and it had been taking up a lot of my time just thinking about that and being emotionally kind of distraught and confused and just, going through a difficult time for a few weeks before this dream.
Okay. Which for me makes sense. But the reality is, everything I interpret is going to come back to you. And it is quite okay for you to say, no, that doesn't, I don't think that fits. That does not resonate with me, or, oh, that makes a whole lot of sense. Um, and I think it's, very important. I can't do this without you. So that part I want to make really clear. Um, so, first of all, a couple of things right off the bat. When you went to the sushi bar, you were there. Your friends did not. They were late. Okay, that was one of the first things, and I think that may be just a little bit about you feeling, and these are all your feelings. We can't. None of our dreams are really for other people. They're about other people. You're dreaming that they're late kind of shows that you have this fear or concern about being disregarded, okay? Or it's not feeling important, okay? Because that usually um, is kind of a disconnect when we're dreaming something like that. And in real life too, I mean, that actually, it makes perfect sense. Now the car thing is also very, very telling and very interesting. You had this great parking space. So that parking space probably represents an opportunity, great opportunity for you. But you had nothing to park in the space except your purse. So the not having a car really shows that you're having a hard time really moving forward. Even though you're having a hard time moving forward, which makes sense after a breakup of a significant relationship, if you think about that. So you have opportunity, the parking spot. The purse is means. You have means, right? Your means, identity, all of that, but you're having trouble moving forward. You're not, so that kind of, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes total sense because that part of the dream I really, because it kept coming up, like when we left, I realized, oh, I have this parking spot, but my car's not there. Like that was the part that I really was just like, what does that mean? So that makes perfect sense to me.
So and I'm glad that I knew that would work. That's why I didn't want to tell you it beforehand because I'm like, I think that was going to be an aha.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
So now let's. I love the lunch experience or the dinner experience at the restaurant. It actually made me laugh. So you guys are all in having, it's a sushi bar
Mhm.
and ordering mashed potatoes. Now I probably could have done something with the mashed potatoes, but I just thought that was really funny. And you having spaghetti, so you have a gluten intolerance. And so what is really interesting is and that this is really kind of an important thing. Your friend's eating something gluten free, and you're eating something with gluten, right?
Yeah.
And then when they actually came, like those were appetizers or something, when they came with the full menu, and you asked about anything being gluten free, you were kind of laughed at and chided as everything's gluten free, and everyone's laughing because they knew that you were really being BS'd about this.
Hmm.
And I think too, especially after a relationship breakup, what I see in all of this part is you having a hard time reconciling things. Okay, that on one hand I'm gluten free, but I'm eating gluten, and I shouldn't be doing that. On the other hand, my friend, is eating uh, gluten free, and why is that important? Because in a few minutes we're going to talk about her conversation about the two guys she's dating, and that may be an extension of some of your feelings and stuff about the relationship. So see, but in all of this, you just have this. You have the waitress who's a bit antagonistic, right, in this transaction, and so I think it really represents all of these feelings that you're having, and trying to make sense in real life of this breakup and how this happened and all of this, especially at a time when you're at a restaurant, because I think that's really important because what you are with a friend and the friend's mom, which represents really a close family dynamic, connection, all of that kind of thing, which you're seeking right now. It typically, I think after a significant breakup or even a loss of a friend, anything really significant, we seek connection, even though we may be withdrawn and sometimes just want to kind of be by ourselves, but we also want to know that we're connectable, that we are still, you know, valuable, desirable, whatever those things are. So I think there's a lot in the stream that really points to your need to know that you're doing everything okay, that your feelings are valid. Okay. So does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. And I never really like connected the fact that I was eating gluten and she wasn't. So that's interesting.
I know I was like, I thought that was pretty funny. So, um, but that is a big clue. I love the mystery of dreams and how that happens. So let me see where do I want to go next? Let me look at. So normally I can remember all of this, but your dream was so. I'm like I have 2 pages of notes. I've never had 2 pages of notes.
I
So
dreamt all night.
I bet, I bet. And so just in the dream, I think the mashed potatoes, your choices on a menu in a sushi bar, were really to represent that kind of discord in yourself and that confusion and all of that. So especially because she had it and you didn't. Now, the talking about her love life kind of thing, your friend, that may have been just because there's some reality to that situation. And so it's just kind of creating that realism in the dream. It may also have been a reflection of some of the discord that you're feeling and some of the, distress. I mean, even when we want to leave a relationship, it's still a big part of our life. And, it's a huge change. And sometimes it's very frightening and overwhelming and all of that. So I think that, for you, it could go either way, where you can actually look at that and think, and how I would see it for you is, um, okay, in your relationship, um, you know, was there a side of this individual, or was this a desire for you to see a side of this individual that was very mature and kind of walking alongside of you, and then a real immature
Hmm.
part that was a struggle for you, right? So that really could be, but I knew you would need to really determine that, not me. So and obviously the getting upset about, she's discussing this and then she's starting to feel upset about it. Um, so that, makes perfect sense. And then you barely ate. your cucumbers in oil, and that was just pure funny.
Yeah.
But it was a great gluten-free representation. I hope you didn't pay much for it in the dream. Um, that was too much for me. The brother coming in. Now, I think this is a little theme in the dream too, and where you had to, where you felt like you needed to really engage in a long kiss with him to um, really feel or demonstrate a connection to him that you guys are physically, that there's physical attraction. I think it's kind of a natural thing after a breakup where you do a like kind of a personal inventory and think, am I, am I desirable? Am I somebody that people are going to be interested in? Okay, so and I think that actually played well into that, where because we tend to seek that feedback, and so that part of the dream to me was just representative of seeking that feedback. We normally would kind of talk to people about it, but remember that part of the brain's not quite as awake as the imagery part. And you have very fertile imagery. Just let me say, I love it. You can come on and do this anytime I'm doing it. So him looking different in the dream, that's really not any kind of a big issue. A lot of times the person pretty much represents who you believe they are. And and I think that's kind of important. So then we have the allergies part, right? And I thought this was actually really interesting. So the waitress comes out, the server, let's look at her as the server, and comes out and says, if you have little allergies, and then you kind of came out like, um, I don't have little allergies, they're big, and you're probably having some attitude with it, right? Being rude, and you recognized it right away and apologized. One of the things I would encourage you to do, and we can talk about this right now because this is one of those things that's going to be very subjective.
Mhm.
Did you feel it towards the end of the relationship that you were being short and kind of finding yourself being rude or disregarding?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's kind of definitely towards the end. I just almost like I was like fed up. And
Hmm.
yeah, definitely.
So when you consider that the waitress was, is a server, then that really kind of goes and shows that part of the relationship. And it could have been a number of things. It could have been being fed up. It could have been just overwhelming, especially when you're recognizing that you're near the end of this. It could have been any of that, but that would be an appropriate uh, a response in an inappropriate situation. You've got everything in here. You have color. You got all kinds of stuff. Just uh, well, we'll talk about that when we get to the cars. We're almost there. So everybody leaves,
Mhm.
and and this is where it gets really fun and good. So if you really look at this whole dream, it's really looking at you kind of going through the stages of the losses relationship. You know, the friends are this need for connection. You're processing through it, the way you're treating people, the way you feel treated, the dynamics, the family and friend dynamics, all of it. I think the representation of your friend having her mom there is really kind of looking at the dynamic of family um, in that situation. So, does that all make sense to you?
That does, because the feelings that I felt in my dream were very confused was like the main one, just the confused why I was doing certain things or why I was seeing certain people, but then also that kind of like need for reassurance or that need to like show people that I am attractive or that I am attractive to other people or I can have those connections. So I think that does make sense, like that sort of moving through the stages of, going through a relationship and processing, how to come back after that. So for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, that if I'm going to title this, that may be the title. It won't. I don't think it will, but the title will have something because that really is. This is almost like you having a dream playing out some of the things you can't reconcile. Why do I feel this way, but I'm doing this? Right? Think about that in real life. How much of that, or why am I? why do I feel like doing this, but this is how I actually feel inside, any of that stuff. So I think this is like a whole book. It's not a snippet. And so let's see. So you guys leave and you realize you parked, left your, we're back to the purse thing. So that parking spot, once again, you see this opportunity. You have opportunity and means, but you're not moving forward at this point, right? We're processing. Um, so you turned around to go back to your spot, and as you walked down the sidewalk, I love that it's like similar to Breitbeck. I obviously get that, but now everyone's going to be looking up Breitbeck Park.
Right.
So then we get to this point about you running behind, um, or J Lo running behind, and that's really, now that we've probably talked about it, you probably have some understanding about that whole transaction between you and her.
Yeah,
So
I think I do. And I mean, you might interpret it a different way, and it might actually make more sense after you tell me. But I think it was that the need for reassurance. I mean, like it's kind of like cut and dry. I feel like in that part, it's like you saw someone beautiful, and I had to look to, a bystander just to say, like, oh, am I pretty like Jennifer Lopez? Like something so silly and straightforward. But I think it was just that need for like approval or that need for like reassurance.
that's exactly what it was. And that does make sense because now you're kind of dusting off, the boots and getting back up and getting to this new place. So the end of the dream very much is movement forward, um, after the part where you get to the parking place, okay? Because, and this is really interesting. As I walk down the path, a gorgeously handsome man approaches me, and again, we instantly had a connection. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting is in your description of that you never seen him before. But I will tell you, somewhere in your lifetime, you did see him before. He is somewhere in the depths of your memory, because we only dream about people that we have seen before. Because keep in mind, it's your brain processing stuff. So it could have been on TV. It could have been someone you walked by in the mall. You may not ever remember the person. You can't recall, but all people we dream about are people we've seen. Uh, that's just a little factoid for everybody. And I love this. And this is that future part. As we both walk to my parking spot, we see the world's most beautiful view over the side of the pathway with water and sunshine and clouds and tropical looking views. Well, you left Oswego, didn't you? We're having this conversation and there's a ton of snow outside. Um, so let's really take a look at that. So once again, this beautiful man. Now this is you feeling hopeful, looking forward, and kind of looking for, which is normal. What is it that I want if I, as far as in a relationship? What am I looking for? Now this is very picturesque, but once again, um, the handsome guy is pretty much, you know, you recognizing physically, about that you are up to par with how you viewed him looking. So it's once again that bit of that reassurance, but in this time it almost feels like you feel self assured now. Okay, and the connection is once again your need to be connected. That you really feel that need. You're coming out of this, and you're not going to just lock yourself in a room and do something with this. There is so much dynamic about connection in this whole dream, and it clearly started out that way. Um, you guys are taking photos, so in other words, you're trying to preserve that moment. And I'm just going to let you know that could be multiple different things. That could be that you feel that you're not going to be able to have that, so you're trying to preserve it. And honestly, there may be other things that may not really mean much of anything. It was just so beautiful you wanted to capture it. I really kind of, I mean, do you feel that the first that what resonates you is you're not sure you could ever have that, and it's kind of what you're seeking, and you need to preserve it? Does that
I
make
think,
sense?
yeah, I think that makes sense. Just given like what happens after where it's like abruptly stopped, I
Yes.
feel like by the thing, like I think it is like I need to preserve this for as long as I can because I don't truly feel I can have that. Uh,
Yes. So good, because you're right. This has to work with the next part, and the next part is the black car. Now keep in mind, the other two cars are luxury cars, right? Or
I think
they're
in my dream it was like a Chevy, like just
oh,
like some like SUV, like not anything super
the
crazy.
the black one, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So when you consider that black is kind of, in dreams, it could be something dark or negative in a dream. And colors do mean things. They don't always have to mean the same thing, but there typically is some understanding. White means light. I mean, it's not anything out of the ordinary when you know that. But the car that did the hitting, that rear-ended um, the other car, uh, that was not any extravagant car, but the other two cars were.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's very important. So consider. So let's really go through that. Um, so you have a BMW and a Mercedes. The BMW is in front. So the rear ending, and this is going to really, I think, give you an aha moment, is so you preserve that picture, great guy, perfect scene, and that scene really would talk about your environment, you, the relationship, all of that. And then um, this black common car, common roots, rear ends the BMW. And I do want to say the BMW, the color, the pastel mint, um, is could symbolize the pastel colors. There's a lot of color psychology in dreams, just so we're aware. Could symbolize a desire for something unique, um, while the white Mercedes might represent a desire for stability or a traditional path. So once again, you know, your mind's like all over, right? That you're trying to reconcile all this. But what's important is the black Chevy rear-ended. So what does that mean? The idea of something coming up behind you and hitting you is your past, old family dynamics, all of that stuff, all of that past
Mhm.
are kind of sabotaging your future. Okay, that's exactly what that means. I mean, cars, we already, our mobility, our direction, there's a lot of things that they're related to. So, how does that fit for you?
I think that makes total sense for me. Just, my past definitely has played a role in, myself and my relationships with other people. And I think that it can kind of hinder me. And in this case, like the car rear-ending or sabotaging me from, getting those things that I want, like the stability or unique relationships or something different. So I think that definitely makes total sense.
Yep. And it was in that car came into your parking spot, right? And hit, and the Mercedes was in front of it.
I can't
Technically.
remember if it was my parking spot, but it was like right, if it wasn't mine, it was right next to it, like
Okay.
very, very close by. Yeah.
So I think that that's it. So then you have these two luxury cars. In other words, you're dreaming big. That's great. And I'm not saying like financially. I don't think this has anything. I mean, I know you. I don't think that would have anything to do with it. But just the idea that you're like, really, I want something different. I need something new. This isn't working for me. I love what I have. I don't want to give it up. Right. So that's definitely a further along processing than at the beginning of the dream. You can really almost see where you're going through these stages. And that's pretty much, uh, you know, I think there's a lot in the dream, especially towards the end, where you're so afraid to lose control and put yourself in the same situations that you find yourself that you're going to. I think there's a real fear of repeating. Okay, and I think that's why the end of it, you almost were at this fairy tale ending. I mean, come on, tropical trees in Oswego when we have like 3 feet of snow everywhere, right? But I think that's a very overwhelming sense of I've arrived, and then you're derailed by your past, by and your core beliefs and things like that. So in a nutshell, you want to move on, you're not so sure how to, and this past, you're carrying around burdens from your past. So,
I think
um,
that makes complete sense, with everything in my life and getting through this relationship and moving forward. I think now that you've gone through and actually analyzed everything, and I didn't know the color meanings, but that makes so much sense to me. Complete sense. So
so now you're going to look at your dreams a little differently.
definitely will, for sure. Yeah.
I think, yeah, no matter how weird, and dreams are really wonderful because what they're doing is helping your memory and they're really helping you to sort things out. So keep writing them down. One of the reasons we have so much detail on Stacy's dream is she got up and immediately uh, typed it up. And I think that if you really want your dreams to help you process through things and deal with things, and grow your emotional well being and health, if you can get to a point to write them down, that is definitely going to be a great thing. So, anything you'd like to add before we close?
I don't know. I think now I'm going to start processing through some more recent dreams that I've had to see, how it can connect with some of the recent things that have happened in my life. So I really appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to sending you more dreams in the
I
near
look forward to
future.
this. Was quite fun. I felt like I was on a little treasure hunt here. This is awesome.
Good.
So, before we leave, I do want to say, um, Stacy and I had conversation and discussion about all of the things in her dream. Once again, I cannot do this without the dreamer. This is a very subjective process, and this has to be meaningful and resonate with the dreamer. And the dreamer is an active part of this. So that's my little disclaimer at the end. But with all that, thank you very much, Stacy. You were awesome, and I look forward to doing this again. I really do. And thank you to my dog Ginger, who has provided some peripheral entertainment for me. And thank you for Bill Whitaker, who is my camera guy today. I just hope everybody has very sweet dreams and then fills out the application on my website, dawnw.com, and sends it to me so we can talk about it.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you, Bill. That's a really good point.